Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I am doing an interview with Samuel and Lauren. I've had them before in the channel, but today I got them to come back, and we're going to be talking about the difference between them, one of them being a standard ESTP and the other being a jumper ESTP. So without further ado, I'm going to get them to introduce themselves. We'll start with Samuel first, so go ahead, man.
All right, cool. I'm an ESTP jumper, so MF, SEFE, play, consume, blast, sleep.
All right, and then Lauren?
I am an ESTP, the standard, SETI. I'm double feminine, and I'm consume, play, sleep, blast, last.
All right, sweet. So before we jump into the questions, I do have one thing I'm curious about for both of you guys. So ESTP is not common in the personality space. And I mean, it's not like you guys are not common, but it's just that they don't come in usually. So I'm curious, how did you guys get into this whole personality stuff to begin with? Because that's kind of interesting how, you guys, one of the few that actually came in as ESTPs. Let's go with Lauren first.
I think how I got interested in it was when I took the 16 personalities test. That was several years ago, I think. And I don't know, I've always felt, I just wanted to know more about my personality, I guess. And it kind of evolved from there. And then I started watching YouTube videos like David Chan's, and I just got really, really into it. And then also I was really interested in like comparing my personality to like my family and my friends. So
oh, there we go. There's your ST report. Like when we first did the interview, I wasn't seeing the ST report, but there we go. I see. All right, awesome. What about you, Samuel?
Long story short was essentially I had some kind of sleep crash and I was like, I need to see what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So I looked into MBTI, started getting into that to try and learn the functions, consuming a lot on YouTube, found OP, started watching OP, then got hooked, and then basically here we are.
So when you guys got into it, did you guys just do it for fun, or was there something that you wanted to get out of it?
Who's going first, me or you?
Lauren can go first.
I guess I'll go first. I think it was more for fun, I think probably at first. Yeah, just making the comparisons. And it was kind of like what Samuel said, it became almost like addicting in a way. And then, and I think there was certain like patterns that I had already, without knowing anything about, typology or anything, there was patterns that I was already seeing. For instance, like SI, like I was seeing those patterns among people that I knew. And so it just completely just fascinated me.
All right, Samuel?
Mine's kind of, so basically broke up with an ex and there was kind of a little bit of like missing information once we had like the final talk. And then I was like, whoa, it just made me look at everything I'm doing in life, because I kind of suddenly like waked up and was like, what am I actually doing? Where am I actually going? So I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm kind of trying to triangulate to see who I am. So I'm like, okay, there's a system that will tell me about myself. So as like I said, when it's MBTI, was trying to learn it, got a INTJ, and I was like, I like that, but I don't kind of think that's right from the OP side of things. But I can see why I did like it from the NT point of view. And then as I was like trying to learn these functions and watching lots of YouTube videos about TE, TI and all that kind of stuff, which kind of interesting, because even when he started talking about TI, I was like, I don't like that. That sounds like stupid, which was kind of ironic. And then eventually got into OP and found Dave to be pretty funny and hilarious, and just like kept watching the stuff. And yeah, now it's like, I pretty much say it's in my OI box for life.
Right. So before we started the interview, while I was chatting with Samuel, he was talking about like the NI being like a huge problem for him. And so this is the thing that you guys both have in common, is that NI at the bottom. The big difference though is Samuel, you have feminine NI, and Lauren, you have masculine NI. And I think when you were talking about you seeing like the pattern with the SI, Lauren, maybe your masculine NI was already kicking in because it is masculine. But I want to go with Samuel here first. I locked into what you said just now when you said I don't really know what I'm doing, and also when you said, oh, INTJ, I like that NT, right? So that's like your NT last plus NI last. You've been in the group now for a while, and since I last interviewed both of you, I'm pretty sure some things have changed. Especially you're both EP, so of course there's gonna be a lot of changes. Skipping around is like the norm. So I'm gonna go with Samuel here first. What have you learned about yourself since knowing that you do have NI at the bottom? That is the biggest problem, and the NT is also the biggest problem. What have you learned about yourself, and what have you done about it, knowing that that is the problem?
Okay. I can see I'm very go with the flow. I mean, I used to say a phrase, I'm a chaos leader, as a joke, meaning that I'd only jump in when things are chaotic. So I can see I'd rather not think and just jump in. I can see I'm doing a lot of the SF play in observations and in interactions naturally. Like I can say, if there's a group of people and we're just trying to have like a good time, I can see my head just start to go off like on crack, just like a little joke here, a little joke here, bring this one in, make him feel good. So I can see myself doing that. I can see the info side of me in the terms that it's about information. Even when I'm talking to people, that's kind of like what I care about. I can see the masculine TI a lot, in the sense that I've got my own views about stuff, but I can see how I defer to the vibe, so to speak. And if I do start bringing out the T, like I've seen with a few masculine T thinkers, I can start seeing that I kind of want to fight about it, but then I'll just be like, okay, calm down. What I'm trying to do, now is I just call it like the 0.5 process of set the bar low, try and hit that, assess it and go again, and using more systems like David Allen's Get Things Done, where I've took a bit of that framework and now I'm just making it work for myself. And I can see how it's not that I don't want to do OI things, because like my bodybuilding, there's an OI side, but I think I can see how there's some unique combination of the SF with the NT, that when I look at the SF for what got me into bodybuilding, it's not really about the bodybuilding. It's more about like the mental discipline and focus that I'm seeing that people kind of marvel at. And it just so happened I saw it through like bodybuilding and anime and all that kind of stuff. So now I'm at the stage where I'm like, almost like, oh, well, forget NI. I can't see that. Let me just start trying to imagine I was doing SI stuff, and then it starts to transfer into OI. And I'm just in the process of redefining that, because there's a lot of failure, and then I attempt to do it again.
I see. So I guess you weren't seeing your own patterns, and then now you are, and now you're doing something.
In a nutshell.
Yeah, and I also noticed that you locked into getting things done. So that's like a very like INFJ jumper thing. So I guess that's your opposite. So I guess like you're locking into what they normally do already, but you're doing it for yourself to upgrade yourself. So that's super cool, man. Good to hear that you're having all that self-awareness about that kind of stuff. Lauren, you're different from Samuel. Your last animal is NF. So you're still NI at the bottom. So similar as Samuel, that's gonna be like a big problem. So you can maybe talk to me about the problem with planning for you. But your other problem is NF. So yes, hold on a second. So yeah, no worries. I'm just making fun of you. So the last one is NF. So it's like purpose, meaning, like what's the point? It's also teaching. So can you share a little bit about yourself, since like knowing your type, you got a chance to dig deeper now? How do you see that?
Yeah, so I definitely see how I'm kind of like the demon NF side of myself. And I feel like I actually miss the point a lot, especially when people are like joking with me or but also I feel like I'm also understanding how my masculine intuition works better now too. So I'm still in it, all day long. I'm still in my intuition where I'm actually pretty good at visualizing for the future. But
okay, I guess the hardest part is also the last part.
that's probably like my most difficult, thing is being blast last. It's hard for me to explain things.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Okay, so why don't we cover that right now, since this is like the elephant in the room. So when Samuel was explaining his stuff, clearly he had blast in his first tree because he was like, precisely explaining, what was happening to him. But for you, you kind of had like an abrupt stop. I'm like, what the heck? That's it? Like, I felt like there was more. So
yes, I know. I do that. I'm definitely blast last.
yeah. No, it's all good. So
okay.
why don't we cover that like as like the first comparison between you guys? So Samuel, you don't have blast last and you're info dominant, you have sleep last. Okay. And then Lauren, you are energy dominant with blast last. So you're gonna be more like of the Dave calls it like the goofa store or something. You're gonna be like super goofy and like just exchanging energy and stuff.
Right.
But then Samuel will be more like obsessed with like the information. I don't know so Samuel, you're interesting because you're lead SF, but you're info dominant. So I feel like sometimes when you're info dominant, you destroy the vibe because you're obsessed with the information, but you're also lead SF. So I don't know how you balance that, but I'm kind of curious what you do, because like, when it's time to be energy dominant, it's time to like just goof around and have fun, right? Like what is information shit, right?
I think it's honest. Sorry, what's your question before I start?
So we're comparing both of you guys. So you have sleep last, you're info dominant, and the biggest contradiction about you specifically is your lead SF, but you're info dominant, because info dominant, they obsess with the information as opposed to the vibe and the energy. But because you're lead SF, you do look at the vibe and the energy, but because you're obsessed with information, you could ruin the vibe. So like, let's say you're talking to someone, instead of like joking around, like, acting like acting like an idiot, you could be obsessed with information instead, which just like kills the vibe, right?
I think, so I think on a spectrum, it's like I'm a little bit of an assassin because I'll use the FE to make you feel good to get more information. So I'm looking at unconsciously how you're feeling. And then that allows me to kind of get away a little bit if the vibe's kind of being killed. So like I've kind of seen like in Discord and such, when it's become a very energy dominated room, I'm like, okay, this isn't really the time to ask the questions that you want to ask because they always lead back to processing the information side. So I think that's what can kind of allow me to get away with it at times, unless the rare times where I feel like the T with the S in the consume starts really coming up, and then I will be like politely ask you a question where I've kind of latched onto something that I want to understand, or before it goes into like another channel change, there's times I'll be like, listen guys, let me just get this first, and then you can go do what you want to do.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. That's really cool, by the way, that you hold yourself back before you go with the info stuff. If you notice that the energy thing is happening, Lauren, you're also interesting because your first animal is ST consume, so that's like very factual.
Right.
But then your energy dominance, you want to goof around. So what's going on there? That's kind of a weird contradiction, also, like Samuel is.
Kind of, yeah. And one thing that I wanted to bring out too, like earlier when you were asking about, why were we interested in, like the typology and stuff, and I kind of told you, it's more for fun. And then Samuel had a completely different answer about, it was more, he respects I can see that he respects the information more than I do. But yeah, notice that.
What, for fun? Are you a joke? This is about life.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. It's like, it makes me just want to go, okay, maybe kind of need to just chill out, man. Like, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Yeah, Lauren's trying to tell you subtly, like, have a chill pill, man. Like, chill out, dude. Stop with this information stuff, let's just have fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So the biggest thing about you guys that's really different is Lauren is self above tribe, and Samuel, you are tribe above self. Like that's like the biggest difference, right? About being like your specific type. And now you still have TI second. So Samuel, you're still gonna be very good at TI. And you're not gonna be, I think lately they were talking about how even if your TI is like your biggest demon or something, or one of your bigger demon, the fact that it's still second, it won't trigger you as much as your NI in the bottom, So I want to ask you guys about your life being self above tribe versus tribe above self. So let's go with Lauren first, because you're like it's kind of funny in the classes they label the self above tribe as a selfish ass. So do you relate with that sentiment, or do you think that's not true at all? Because you do have high. So
I think it's partially true. But I think having them in the middle, and being like a double decider is good. I think I'm a good balance, I guess.
Yeah.
And then two, having play as, my second animal.
Right.
I think that helps. But yeah, I've always, even from the beginning, I always kind of saw myself as self above tribe, like from the very beginning. Yeah.
So when do you become like selfish, Lauren, and when do you be like, when you realize like, oh, time to be nice to everyone, like when do you do that stuff?
Okay. I don't know if I can think of like a specific example, like right off the bat, but
if you need a second, we can pass it to
I think in general, I probably do think of myself. I probably put my needs first, basically. Like, that sounds really bad, but I think just automatically, yeah, I do that. But
that's not the bag.
when do you switch to the tribe? You're like, been doing this too much. I gotta.
That's true. So I think I'm pretty good at that too. Like I can kind of I can see it. Like, okay, I need to take it down a notch, and then put other people ahead of myself. Like their wants and needs ahead of me. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what about you, Samuel? You're I think both of you guys are like almost in the middle. That's why it's kind of tough, Like, but
right.
Yeah. What about you, Samuel? When does how's your life like being tribe above self?
I suppose the vibe is like, I want to do what I want to do, but then I see someone in trouble. I'm like, oh man, now I got to be a good person and help them. And then it gets to a point where I'm like, kind of doing too much for people. Now I have to do what I have to do. And then I try and be polite, and it's almost like the tribe starts seeing me in a depressed state. But I think it's just because I'm trying to do more like stuff for me. So that's how it comes across. Or I can see it when I'm getting annoyed at people, as I'm talking about people now, in the language of the DE in my head. So like if I'm in the supermarket and I've let you walk in front of me, I'm expecting you to say thank you to me because I didn't have to do that. And then I start getting annoyed, like, do you not know the etiquette principles of life? So like I can see that kind of like DE side appearing to me, which of just having the revelations like, oh wait, that's your logic, man. They don't have to abide by that, and they don't have to do that. I see it with my clients in personal training, in the personal training clients in the face-to-face, where it's like, I'm one masculine OE, so I guess I want to be very adaptable, and then I kind of flex with them on times. And even once they've been late, it's hard for me to be a bit more stern, like, okay, you missed your session, you're getting charged. I don't like doing it, but I have to create those kind of boundaries. Otherwise, some people will take the mick, so to speak. And yeah, so it's like I want to puff my chest out, but there's something inside me just has to. It is good to be good to people, but that's just the way it feels like. It's like I want to go do what Lauren's doing, but I can't, because I'm like, that's not the right thing to do.
It's not the right thing to do. That's funny. Kind of calling her out. I'm just kidding. So Lauren, I think the biggest thing obvious about you is your double activated consume. Like you just like, it seems like you love this listening in, and when do you like to balance it with like talking to people versus like just listening in, like and just absorbing everything around you?
I feel like I kind of, it depends on what I'm into. So I guess the one thing that I might blast about would be, this personality stuff. Like when I kind of get comfortable with a friend, and then I feel like I can blast to them and teach them about it. And it always kind of catches them off guard, I think, too. Just because a lot of times they'll tell me that I don't talk very much. So, but yeah, so they're surprised that I know that I'm somewhat knowledgeable, I guess. Like I've consumed all this information for years. And then I'm able to, deliver it, but only when I'm really comfortable with the person. So
yeah, I think a lot of blast people are actually really smart. It's just that because they don't say much, like people
yes.
think like it's like this person like this person know anything, but like you do just yeah.
That's exactly right. And I think people underestimate your like intelligence almost, because they don't realize, but yes.
All right, so since we're on the topic of intelligence, you guys both have TI. So I want to talk about TI now. And I want to talk about like intelligence, respect, all the stuff that's correlated with TI. So let's go with Lauren first, and we'll jump into Samuel after. So Lauren, you're self-above tribe, but so the TI is a savior for you. And from what I know with TI, it's correlated with intelligence, wanting respect. Like, are all those things something that's important for you? Like, do you want like people to respect you, for your intelligence specifically? And then,
Ooh, I don't know. I've never really thought of it like that before. I do think that I'm a little bit, even though I have TI Savior, I think I am a little bit touchy when it comes to like how I do things, or how people, when people comment on how I do things, like such as like at work or something like that, I can get a little touchy. I'm a little sensitive when it comes to my TI.
What do you mean? So, an example of that, like when you got touchy and stuff?
In other words, if they're telling me I might be doing something wrong, like at work,
right?
or let's say I'm at the gym. This is a good example. When I've done like fitness classes or something, I'm a little touchy if like the personal trainer comes up, and because I do like a class with a personal trainer, Orange Theory, and so they'll kind of critique me on certain things, and I'm a little touchy about stuff like that. I feel like that's probably more of a TI thing in general, but
yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
So how do you react when like the personal trainer is critiquing you?
Well, I have to put on my FE my FE face.
Yeah.
And so but on the inside I'm like,
Do you get like defensive?
So, like, or I'm like, hey, I have my own way of doing things. That's what I'm thinking to myself, but leave me alone.
I see. There you go. It's come out, guys.
Or this is what works for me, So
Samuel's taking notes now. Not what not to say to other TIs,
I was just battling TIs to go in. I'm like, do it better. How do you know that's true? And then oh, damn.
Yeah, especially Lauren. I think if you saw Lauren in gym, she would be like super friendly and stuff. And so you won't know she's thinking that in her head, if you're like giving her the advice. So like maybe like Lauren will pretend she's like agreeing with you, but inside she's like, hey, back off, like
I'll get
right.
I'll get her with it eventually. That's what goes in my head.
What's that?
Get her with the FE eventually over those interactions.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then that's what I think would happen. You never know.
So Samuel, same question, but in your version as a demon TI.
Oh yeah. So the question was about TI and how. Oh God, I've kind of forgotten it.
Wanting respect, especially for your intelligence. Like how you do stuff is personal to you, kind of like with Lauren. It's like with a personal trainer bugging her and stuff.
Right. Yeah, the vibe's like, I don't want to get in my pants. Call me smart. Basically, that's the overall story of it. But like one of my examples was I had an online client who's been working with me for a long time. She wants to compete, And then she wanted to try some new things because her reason was, I just want to try something different, even though she was getting all the results. And that really kind of triggered me, because I was like, I'm putting all this work into this. It's actually working. I know it works. And now you're stamping on all the effort that I've put into you for this. And I can see how it kind of, it just hits the identity in some weird way. And then to be similar to Lauren in terms of the training side, if like someone's to come over and tell me stuff, or when you're telling me how to do certain things, if you come across very masculine with it, I'm going to be like, F you, like just kind of back off. But if you're suggesting an idea, then I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. And if I think it's true, then I'll adapt it in, basically. But yeah, even myself, it's, I have a particular way I like to do stuff. And for some subjective reason, I feel like that's the right way to do everything, and everyone else should really abide by it, but you can do whatever you like.
It sounds like your client, it was like an EP of some sort, Samuel. Like you just want to like skip step, like hop around and,
I think she's an EP, and I suspect a lot of masculine FI in there as well. Yeah. She kind of annoys me a little bit because, it's not her, it's you're not doing it. I have to be doing it, but I can see you. I'm like, okay, I really need to navigate around your emotions and how we get there. But that's how I see it for now. But we're cool. There's much love.
Yeah, I like how you threw that F in the end after you made fun of her.
Side, innit?
Yeah. Lauren, what do you do for work, by the way? Just curious.
I'm a bank teller.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So I guess when because earlier you were talking about like if someone like tells you how to do stuff and then you're like getting a bit triggered there,
Right.
Your sleep is also double masculine. So has that ever come out and like you like, because like it's NT, right? So how you figure out stuff is very personal to you. Like I guess you don't want people to like come and help you figure stuff out. Like it's like you want to do it yourself. I don't know if that's true or not. Like, do you feel that's true?
Yeah, I do actually. I kind of see that a little bit. And then I think that's why some people have been surprised when my masculine inner world comes out. Like, like I reveal myself to them and they're a little like, whoa, they're a little surprised because I think I come across as so friendly and, movable since I'm double feminine, but.
Yeah. And then you're also NT inside. So technically you're like a nerd inside. That's kind of weird too, right? Because like outside, you're like, oh, super SF, Lori, super SF, same as Samuel. Like you guys are both like, you both seem like SF to the max. But inside you're like an NT nerd, which is like, what the hell? Like what's going on here, right? So can you like, can you guys like share about that? Like being a nerd inside, like an NT nerd?
I think I think I have a lot of different interests that surprise people and stuff. Like I do, I am interested in learning things about like science or, the way things work in space and stuff like that. I love learning about things like that, or this personality stuff. So I think that does surprise like a lot of people.
Do people like assume like you're into like girly stuff, like makeup and like fashion and all that stuff? Or and then
yeah, probably. And I'm into that stuff too. I think there's two sides of myself.
Right.
But yeah.
So I guess like the science stuff is like, what? You're like, you're into that stuff? And
I think I like consuming the information about it. So it's like, it's fascinating to me. Like the other day I was researching about like, how many galaxies there are.
That's great.
I love learning things, like learning about astronomy and things like that. So.
Right. Well, I believe you. Yeah. What about you, Samuel?
Yeah, I think the NT side, it's just the whole, I think I can see it more now. It's just figuring out whatever I'm in a way. So it's like, I'm into my bodybuilding, I'll start figuring out, and then I'll start filtering it to the core principles that work. And then funny enough, I can use that in other areas of life. sometimes I like just thinking, when I do think, I think about it, I like thinking about what it is that this reality world that we're in. And I'll use things like religion, people's views to kind of figure out what life is kind of about, which I still haven't figured that out, but I kind of see it like, you know, the whole phrase, give yourself games that you win. I kind of took that in my own head as, are we allowed to swear?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, thank you for the permission.
You're welcome.
Effectively, like the whole give yourself a game you can win is just do whatever the fuck you want to do to mind fuck yourself to win, because I can see everything is so subjective, and obviously I'm going to pull it in a little bit of my own sleep, because I'm like, I know I want to do something, but I kind of don't know what I want to do. And then when I look around and start figuring out, I'm like, wow, everyone's just really just picking something, regardless if it's feminine or masculine, in whatever like sleep you have. So then it just makes me kind of look at life as some type of video game where anything that is permissible can be done. If it wasn't permissible, then you wouldn't be able to do it. Even things such as like morality and that, which is a kind of a testy subject, which I'm not going to go into too much, but like things like morality, it's not real, but it's something that we need to have as human beings to kind of function. So when I get going, that's where my head goes with like the NT side, basically.
I see. You get stuck in this rabbit hole then of the NT world, and like trying to figure out like the meaning of life and whatnot.
Yeah, stuff like that. And then if it's in life and everything like that, obviously it's like when I'm planning or for anything like that, it's not really in the moment planning. If I do it, it's like the most minimal steps that I can do in every situation. Like I feel like my brain just can't hold a lot of stuff, so I have to take certain master codes, and then that can fit everywhere if I do the sleep properly.
I see. Just one thing I thought it was kind of funny is that I could picture Ian already. You know, your jumper ESTP cousin. He'll be like, "Oh hell no! You just didn't let him swear, did you? Because he hates the swearing stuff." But yeah, that's all good. I'm just poking fun.
No,
Yeah. just poking fun. You know, every time I bring him to the panel, he's like, "Hey Kendrick, just make sure that tell everyone no swearing, okay? I have, you know, like, you know, so."
I just, you know, I know I have seen that I kind of swear a bit. I think I kind of swear a bit too much, but I guess it's just the whole, I think it's authentic for you to get the intensity of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Basically, that's where it comes across. I feel like if I'm authentic with it, you just get it more.
Yeah. No, I'm cool with the swearing. My girlfriend's a sailor. You know, she's like, you know, I mean, swears like a sailor. I mean, just like, you know, dropping F-bombs left and right, you know, and she's like the friendliest looking girl in the world. And then you get shocked. You're like, what the? Why is she like dropping like F-bombs left and right, you know? So, she's double feminine too, right? So she's like, it's like when you first meet her, she's like, seems timid and stuff. But when you get to know her, he's like, oh, I hate that fucking, you know, like, anyways, yeah.
One more thing with what Lauren said, one thing that I find interesting is when she talks about her NT sleep being double masculine, I feel like I can relate to the TI side a little bit, but it's like, yeah, I don't like people to interfere with my own understanding, but then I don't know what I'm thinking sometimes unless I start blasting and thinking about it. So I too don't like people to give me the whole understanding. Like one of the biggest ways I can explain it is effectively from my subjective view about religion, people would tell me what's what. And I was like, nope, I don't want that. And then the more I figure it out for myself, then I'm like, okay, I can see where you're coming from. And yeah, that's that.
I see. So Lauren, can you do the whole NT thing in your head? Because Samuel said he has to blast it out first before he can do it. But does it all happen inside of you?
It's happening in my mind. And that's another thing. I didn't really understand what, I don't think I really understood before what, how my intuition works. But now I understand. I feel like I'm in it all day long, but it's kind of like, to me, it's like a very, like a rich imaginary world. I mean, that's the only way, like I can visualize the future so well. I can imagine things and visualize all the way through. So I'm in it all day long. And that's why I was confused about my type, before, because I felt like I was always in that imaginary world.
Yeah. Well, what type did you think you were?
I thought I was more like a INFP kind of person.
Oh, I see.
Which is totally different functions, but yeah, that's kind of the way I viewed myself.
I guess you wanted that because your NF last. So
maybe so. Yeah. Cause like initially I was like, oh, I must be a feeler and I must be intuitive. Like that's what I thought. But yeah,
that's your demon. That's your fourth one.
Right. I know.
That's what you wanted.
Exactly. So I was upside down in that way. Right.
Yeah, I guess everyone always wants what I'm SF fourth, right? So I'm like, oh, I want that SF stuff because I'm like fourth in that, right? So
right.
Yeah. I think maybe you get sucked in that world because it's double masculine. So like it's like super aggressive,
So now I understand it's been my intuition. It's been my masculine intuition all along. Like that imaginary world is my intuition. So
right. Because like Samuel's double masculine is ST, right? So it's a slightly different from you.
Different, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to ask you guys about your NI, specifically the NI now. Okay, because this is like the biggest like problem here, obviously. So Lauren, you said that you can see the future so vividly. But NI is also planning. So even though you can see the future, do you stick to the vision that you see, or do you be like, nope, I'm gonna be an EP, I'm still gonna hop around, I don't care.
That's exactly right. So I can like visualize the plan, but actually going through in the moment is just, it almost feels impossible. I have sleep as an animal third, so I feel like if I really set my mind to something, I can do it. But yes, it's very difficult to follow through, and in reality, to follow through on those plans.
So what's happening when like that inner conflict happens? You're like, that's the plan, I need to be following it. Or like, do you just get bored, or it's like it's not so fun to follow it, or what's stopping you?
Yes. I get bored very easily. Yeah. For instance, let's just take like my meals as an example or something. I want to have a different, I can't stick to eating the same foods like routinely, or routines. That's the problem. Like it would literally, it just drives me insane. I need a lot of variety, basically.
Yeah, you're also a tester, which makes it even harder because like you want to try different foods all the time. So
exactly, and so and also I feel like my meals have to be like exceptional. Like I have to really enjoy what I'm eating.
Do you make your own food, or do you prefer to just buy it?
So I do both. Yeah, I do both. But yeah, I mean, of course I love to eat out, and so, and that could also be, I think that's also a problem too, because especially people with my type, I think they can get into, like financial trouble and stuff like that, like the overspending and things like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's definitely like like ESFP and ESTP have that issue.
Yes.
It's weird though, because ESTPs, you have the TI, so you would think that's not going to happen, but it still does, because somehow like the EP side overrides that,
That's true. I think I can. Okay, I never let myself go too far. I think I can kind of like, I do limit myself. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm always like pushing the limits or pushing the boundaries, I guess.
I think like one of the stereotype where like ESTPs is like, you guys are like, make money, like make it rain, right? Like it's like maybe there's like maybe it's like I don't know, it's just like something I saw. I don't know if it's like real or not. I'm just throwing this out here, obviously. So disclaimer, I'm just throwing it out. But like a lot of people who are like into sports, right? They're like ESTPs, right? And they're like all about like making a lot of money and then go partying hard, right? So it's like, I feel like, okay, like the making the money part, I feel like that's like very TI, or like ST consume. It's like, yeah, give me all the cash, but like I'm still an EP, so I want to make it rain, right? I want to like jump around and like have fun and enjoy life, So it's like a weird contradiction almost. I don't know if you guys have that in you. I don't know. Samuel's like grinning, so maybe like like there's something he should like share to us,
Well, it makes sense, isn't it? Like the whole point of money is to have a good life and
Right.
do what you want to do, isn't it? Like I go on holiday,
Right.
then go. Want to have something new? I go try it. Want to treat my friends?
Yeah.
Go do it. So yeah, I can see it. It's just what else is money for? To feel good in life and be secure, to have open experiences, basically. So you see it 100%.
Yeah, I think that's what I find very interesting about ESTPs is like like there seems to be like a part of you guys that's like aggressive at like wanting to make a lot of money, but then it's just like the contradiction of like, want to make it rain after. It's like I was like, oh, but I get what you're saying. It makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, you should enjoy your life, right? Like otherwise, what are you doing?
Within reason, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I guess it's just the gathering, just wanting to consume.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And oh, sorry. I was gonna kind of the thing that Kendrick was talking about. It kind of made me think of. I feel like the SEFE, like in us, we also like to impress people. So I could kind of see like what you were saying, Kendrick. There's like that desire there. Like we want to impress others, kind of a thing. So, but we want to make others feel good too.
I know. I'm just like in my head. I'm like, I don't want to impress anyone, but I think it happens a little bit unconsciously. Like,
Right.
yeah, like I can see it from like my PT world, or like I got a new Observer. I got a new motorcycle. I love this motorcycle. I just chose the motorcycle that I thought was really cool, kind of decent specs and everything. But now it turns out for that motorcycle, it's actually one of the most popular motorcycles. So before I'm riding it, people are like, oh man, your motorcycle is really cool. I'm seeing kids like stare at my bike and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, so because I'm paying attention to this SF world, I must be choosing stuff that naturally is in a higher echelon of SF.
Yeah.
So that comes across in my head. And I am SF first. So like, I don't know, because I think like sometimes you might have SFs who are responsible to it, but not good at it. But like, even like this hair that I just had right now, yeah, I'm getting a lot of people, and maybe I'm just paying attention. Oh, I really like your hair. It really looks good. It really looks good. It really looks good. And I'm just like, oh, I'm stuck in this SF mode, man. Like it's actually true. Not that I'm not saying I'm cool, but I can see it in the real world. I don't know if you can see that, Lauren, when you got it seconds.
Yes, I think I can too. Yeah, because I still, since my play, I still feel like it's still a savior thing. So I kind of do the exact same thing. Or like even with me, like when you're talking about the motorcycle, it made me think of like the Jeep that I the Jeep that I picked out. So I do the exact same thing.
So what's so good about this Jeep then?
It's pretty cool.
I'm sure it is.
Oh man.
Right, so actually, let me ask one question then. So it's like a little bit of the SF and the ST. When I looked at my Sky Observer, like when I looked at my motorcycle, I was like, okay, I know there's a functionality that I wanted to do because fundamentally it's got to get me from A to B so I can get there on time and everything. And then I look at all the motorbikes that are good in the price and everything, but I'm just like, I can't do it, man. I'm in my head. I think I'm thinking I have to look good on this bike, and that's the one that's gonna work for me. So it's like I'm merging the F and the T together, whereas you're ST first and SF. If you hear what I'm saying, how does that in some way, shape, or form play out for you?
See, I don't know, because I feel like I'm still I feel like I'm almost equally as SF as I am ST, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's the SF is like very important to me, basically. You know, and that plays a huge factor in what I'm choosing.
Okay. So when you chose this Jeep.
Okay, exactly. So that is an example. I chose it because it was fun and it looked cool.
but like I'm just trying to, because it sounds like FI. Do you know what I mean? In the sense that like I like this, but somewhere underneath there, is that your reason, or is there a little bit more to it? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know. I probably would have to think it through. I don't know. Let's think about that.
About what we like.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, Campbell. Lauren does come across very ESFP like, but like,
yeah.
But until you start hearing her ST report, and you're like, oh, what the? So it's like, what's going on here? It's so weird, you know? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we go for the questions then? Before we go to the questions, I just want to say, you guys talking about your hair stuff, like it makes me insecure with my SF sleep last, because like, you know, like Samuel, you have like the cool hairstyle that you're saying that you like, everyone gives you compliments, and Lauren has like a really pretty hairstyle. So for me, I'm like, maybe I should have done my hair too. I feel like it's like self-conscious now, you know. Like I just finished teaching spin, I took a shower and like started this interview. I'm like, shit, you know. I'm in the presence of like SF saviors. Maybe I should like, you know, done something. But anyways. So Samuel, you already asked the first question, but you can ask more questions, of course. So Lauren, what question do you have for Samuel that you prepared?
Oh, okay. Let's see. I have kind of a list here. Okay. My first question was it easy for you to see yourself as sleep last?
Hell to the no. I couldn't see that. And then it really dawned on me when my old man, who's always said stuff to me, where I'm like, this guy's always right about me. How the hell is he doing that? And then he went, Sam, I kind of think you need to slow down because you're always running around.
Oh.
And I ask him certain questions, which I don't want to ask. Maybe there's a little bit of a function similarity or something, but it starts going to my deficits in life are, you kind of need to slow down. You need to get your vision. You need to plan right. You're too much all over the place. You're doing too many things. And then as I bodybuild and I want to compete next year, I couldn't compete this year because I had a motorcycle incident. I can see that I have a lot of go energy, even when there's no energy left in the tank, to the point that sometimes I'll get home and I'm just like, why am I tired? Like I get home and I can see I'm doing the same pattern. I'll sit down and I'll just like slump and I'll be there for an hour. And I'm like, this isn't right, man. I shouldn't be this tired. But now I'm beginning to see slightly that, you know, the way you have sleep as your third. So I feel like every animal function has like 4 stages of awareness. So obviously you're consume first. So you have all the awareness of consume. And with sleep, you know, okay, I really should do a little bit more sleep. So it's like, you can't go as deep as a sleep second, but you can go somewhat deep. And now I'm beginning to feel or see there's times when the body's like, whoa, you need to slow down now, we're effed. And then I'll just ignore it. So it will like the feeling of tiredness or the body's broken down goes like, we need to go rest. And then that feeling will just get like deleted. And then I used to carry on. So now I'm trying to like tactically go, I don't really feel tired, but I felt that tiredness. So it means it's there because I'm literally talking to clients and I'm yawning. And I'm like, why are you actually yawning? Because if you're yawning, there's something going on. And then I begin to go, oh, this is what they mean by, I don't even know what sleep is about, but it does pop up, but it's just, I'm not sensitive to it and it goes off. So I can catch like probably 1 out of, I would say 20, but it's probably 1 out of 50. And that's where I'm at right now.
Oh, that's super interesting. That was interesting to hear because I'm also sleep last, and but I don't feel the same as you. That's why I think it's interesting. I have FI, right? So I always know how I feel, but it's kind of like you. Like for you catch, like, was it 1 out of 50 you said, or 1 out of 100? For me, I always catch it, but I ignore it. I'm like, dude, you got quota to hit. You got shit that needs to get done. You know, just like tough it out. You know, just be like a good soldier and just tough it out. You know, so yeah.
I think there's like, spectrums within spectrums of it. So I think you're right, but our overall story is kind of similar. But yeah, I get where you're going from that.
So Sam, what question do you have for Lauren?
Oh man. Okay, so I guess I care about is the sleep, because that's my first question. So it was, how do you see sleep third as a tool? But what I mean by that is, so like the key to my sleep is obviously to blast at people, because I feel like in my head, if I know what is good for the tribe, then I know what's good for me. Because if it's good enough for the tribe, it's been refined enough, and then I can take that blast and adapt it for me. So in that speak, is it like when you know what's working for you, then you can say how it's good for the tribe? Because I'm blast sleep and you're sleep blast.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think of how I would apply that to myself. So, like, for instance, I'm just going to talk about like my kind of like my diet routine. Because a few years ago, I kind of discovered like the low carb lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so that was a way that I really utilized. I feel like I utilized my sleep very well. And then, so I kind of see what you're saying. Like it worked for me, and then I can share it with others. That's what I do. Like that's what I would do automatically. That has been, there was somebody that kind of wanted to debate me on, the lifestyle. And I'm very, I guess with my masculine inner world, it works for me. So I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to explain, but
let's say it's worked for you.
Right.
How would you then convince someone that there's some importance with this style of eating? Is, I guess, and because that will go into your blast, because effectively what I'm saying is the only way I can tap into my full function is from the blast to sleep. So in your case, it's sleep to blast. So when you get into that, like you said, that blast mode, is it because you've done the NT so much in it that you feel confident you can
Oh, okay. Yeah. And I can kind of see too with this personality stuff, for instance, yeah, I use my NT to see the patterns of the personality stuff, and then I can go teach it to somebody else. So I kind of see what you're saying, but yeah, I would have to see it for myself over and over again.
Okay.
With my masculine intuition, and then I'll feel comfortable going and teaching somebody else.
And then you can give like I know there's kind of many forms of blast, but then you start, I call my blast, it's like superhero emotional speak when I'm talking to someone.
Oh.
So because maybe it's a little bit of context in the PT world, I'm like, when someone's down on that, I'll start motivating them and I'll be like, listen, look, if you don't do this today, these habits are gonna break you down. And I'll go for it. One guy, like, listen, look at your kid. He needs a role model in life. He's going to look at you as the role model. So you need to do what you need to do for yourself, because you're going to be a shining example. And I'm like, I'm emotionally blackmailing him. That's what I can tell that I'm doing, as bad as it sounds, but it's for a good reason. So then when you would go to your blast mode, can you see how you're talking about the NF importance of it?
Okay, I don't know. I kind of have to think that through. I feel like you're better with your blast, and you're more motivating with it and more like moving than like I would be. Yeah. So it would probably be more difficult for me to do that just because it is blast.
Right, then let me ask this then. It will be my second question, Kendrick, but basically, when I think of just NT in general, obviously it's going to get very personal to me. And I'm like, okay, now I'm beginning to understand what NT is. It's like, because I understand what David Shannon is talking about. You have to understand the terms for yourself. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just figuring out how things are. And it's like a big epiphany for me, because I've made it kind of personal to me. So like I can see what NT is now. But then when I start thinking about like NT play and all that, I'm like, yo, I didn't even know you could do it that way, let alone do I even want to do it that way. So what is, in that logic, what do you see NF as? And I guess naturally that will come into blast mode for you, but like, because it's your last temperament, what do you see NF as?
I kind of, I don't know. That's kind of hard for me to explain. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of something abstract, I guess. Kind of what's going on behind the scenes, basically. I don't know. I feel like I'd have to kind of think about that in order to answer it, but
It's interesting because
yeah, basically I'm missing, yeah, what's going on behind the scenes. I'm not making those connections, basically, like the intuitive connections.
I think that's interesting then, because I'm double activated on the feeling and then you're double activated on the T. So
Right.
you're like, well, you're like, I think it's the behind the scenes, which I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. But then I'm like, I'm not even hearing any F from you. Because to me, with it slightly third, I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to express it, but it's like the va-va-voom, the je ne sais quoi, the vibe of things that you can't see that are there that are important, but you cannot speak about it. Like, I can see maybe because I'm linked a bit more to the T that I can express it with blast third. But when you're doing it right now, obviously I've put you on the spot. You're like, yeah, I just know something behind the scenes, but you don't even step into the F world with it. So it's just,
Oh, yeah.
I kind of, yeah, I kind of just wanted to see how you kind of saw it, because that's how I see NT right now. Like, I can't do much T with it, but it's just like the 1+1, the mathematical spirit science. That's kind of how I see it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. I think this is the difference between that you're info dominant and I'm energy dominant too. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
it.
I think so. Right, right.
Tell me about your information and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but you know what? Honestly, I'm watching you guys talk, and it seems like you guys are talking the same language, though. You know, it
Really?
does
Oh,
feel
okay.
it does feel like it. Like you're on the same page, even though, like, obviously the sexual modalities make a big difference. And obviously, when Lauren is talking, I see you going through your sleep processing. Like when Sam was asking you a question, you're like you don't want to talk right away. You don't want to blast right away. With Samuel, you know, it's just like, okay, I have an answer ready, right? Because his blast is activated. But like with you, Lauren, you're like, you'll go into like you'll process it first. And also when you go to sleep processing, I can see your double masculine side, you know, because like, you know, like
Really?
you're like joking around and stuff, but like when you go to your double masculine, your face like stiffens up, like you're like, yeah, it's like the double like masculine side. Like I think if you watch the interview and you watch Samuel like asking you questions, your face is like stiff, like you're like suddenly like the top double masculine side came out, you know. So I thought that was cool, like to see you like shift, because like your double feminine SF plays super obvious, right? But then when you got sucked into the double masculine NT sleep, it's like, whoa, there we go, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
So Samuel was talking about like him with his NF blast, and like he uses like blackmailing or whatever, but which is, you know, it works, so it is what it is.
Worse than it sounds, but
Yeah,
that's
I know, I get it. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm just making fun of you. But so yeah, I'm looking at Lauren right now. I'm like, I can't see you like giving someone a pep talk, kind of like Samuel would, you know.
I can't, no, and I don't feel, another aspect of myself, I don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't know why. A lot of times I'm just like, oh, this is not my place. That's the way I think.
Right.
But yeah, it would make me uncomfortable.
Yeah. That makes sense, being self-above tribe, you know. Also, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Right.
Yeah. Because Samuel feels like it's his responsibility to help other people, you know, to
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, yes, that makes sense.
yeah. All right. So Lauren, you got the last question for Sam, and we'll wrap this up, okay?
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I'm trying to see here. I have kind of a list. So, okay, I'll ask this one. Samuel, so as an FE person, do you feel like it's vital that you're able to like vent or like talk out your feelings with other people. Because me as a demon FE, I feel like that's very important to me. For instance, I went to lunch with a friend, and I think she's Savior FE. And I ended up talking to her for about 4 hours and kind of like venting to her. And she says, it seems like this is really important for you to be able to do. So I was kind of wondering if that was more me with my demon FE, and then kind of how you compared to that, if you feel like you have to talk it out, basically.
Okay. The short answer is yeah. I think if you got FE, you're screwed. You have to talk with the tribe. How I realized that, and I'm going to go back to my breakup because that did hit me. I didn't have a problem with emotion. I had a problem with processing it. And the only way I'm going to process my feelings, I could probably process it by myself, but it's going to be very hard, was to process it with people. And therefore, I'm not processing it with people because I think I'm a little bit DE above DI. So I don't want to bring that to the room. And therefore, I'm not processing these feelings that I have. And then I realized, oh my God, I really have to do the whole Alcoholics Anonymous where I'm just going and talking to people, because I can see myself doing it on the shallow stuff where sometimes I think people don't realize, or I'm abusing it, where I'm like, listen, man, I'm just venting. Yeah. Like, don't take this seriously. And I'm like, blah, blah, this, that, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, whew, I'm good. For some, you just have to know how I feel. And once you know how I feel, we're bonded. So yeah, even if you're a demon FE, find some people that are relatively understanding, and they'll just let you get it out of your head. Because I see it like a kettle. It's just not meant to stay in. It's meant to come out. Like I think you can do it if you're pushed like pedal to the metal to process it yourself, because technically you can do everything, but it's just going to take a lot of ability points to do that. So yeah, so fundamentally, I think because you're TI, so you're like, do the dung tins for myself, and then you got Demon F, you don't even want to go talk to people because you're the DI, like your significance. Superman doesn't need anyone's help. It's gone superhero talk, but you get where I'm coming from. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, that was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Superman's also an ESTP jumper, right? So yeah.
He's her type, isn't he? He's your type.
What's that?
I think the same type as Lauren.
No, he's SEFE.
Oh, is he? Oh, my bad. I forgot.
But he's double feminine, so he's a little bit of both you guys. If you guys combine, then yeah. He's also blast last, right? So
Man,
That's funny.
yeah. Of course, you know, you need to be an ESTP to be Superman. You don't have, otherwise you don't have the physique for it, right? So yeah. One thing I found very funny about this interview is every time Lauren asks you, Sam, for a question, you look like you're exposed. So
Yeah.
like Lauren's like exposing you, you know, you're like, you have like that face, you're like, oh shit, it just got exposed.
Yeah, I know. Like, you know, when someone's got you and you start laughing about it, I'm just like,
yeah, she got the all right, so we'll wrap it up here, guys. So thanks for coming out, and this was a really good interview. I enjoyed talking to you guys and learning more about your specific type. And I think it was good that you guys talked to each other, because I was like, when I was interviewing Lauren, I think we don't speak the same, like we don't have the same function stack. So I felt like we were kind of missing each other. But then when you guys are talking, I'm like, oh, there we go. Lauren's talking to someone that has the same like function as her. So now, and then same as you, Sam, like you guys were talking the same language. So I'm like, oh, cool. That's cool. It's cool to see that, you know. Yeah.
Lauren, we're best friends.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, all right. Well, peace out, guys, and we'll see you around the group. Okay. I'll stay in touch.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you.